So funny story actually. I recorded this entire footage in the 4:3 aspect ratio, and it wasn't until I'd finished the game and started messing around in the options that I discovered a widescreen option that made playing the game a lot nicer to look at. Though it does kind of stretch the screen, so it's personal preference really. I'll probably correct this in the next part maybe, since I can't be bothered to play the entire game again, but I don't know, I also kind of like it in 4:3, so we'll see how it goes. You may or may not be aware of this, but as of the recording of this video, a game called Dangerous Driving was just released by Three Fields Entertainment, a Burnout successor created by previous leading developers of the Burnout franchise, essentially aimed as the sequel to Burnout 3 we never got. So before I look back at that and gave it a play, I wanted to see exactly what it was trying to recreate and bring back. There have been 5 mainline Burnout games that have been released: Burnout, Burnout 2 Point of Impact, Burnout 3 Takedown, Burnout Revenge, and Burnout Paradise. There has also been a Burnout game before Paradise, not developed by Criterion, called Burnout Dominator, as well as a handheld exclusive called Burnout Legends. It took me a while to decide whether to include these two, though in the end I decided these are still Burnout games, and still worth an interest in playing. I am however excluding Burnout Crash, as this is more of a mini game than a full Burnout game, and I wouldn't count it as its own thing that is relevant to the new indie successor. Okay, so how do these games hold up? Only one way to find out. I want to crash and burn my way through the entire series and see what exactly made them all so memorable, ranking them along the way and seeing which is the best to revisit now before we dive into the exciting successor, Dangerous Driving. Burnout. First released in 2001. 9 vehicles, 16 total tracks. The first game in the series. So this is where it all began. I'm going to be treating each game as if I have only played the series for the first time, so I will be treating this as if it's the only Burnout game I have ever played, then only make comparisons to games that have come before each game I am taking a look at, as to give them a fair view as if they have just been released. Let's start by saying this game is a pretty damn impressive feat for its age. It still looks really good, even if a little basic. The environments are detailed, the tracks are very busy and lively, the cars look great and realistic, which makes it all the more fun to crash them, even if you're not exactly supposed to. Which, speaking of crashes, are absolutely fantastic. The physics in this game are realistic enough to be satisfying, whilst also arcadey enough to make the crashes an absolute spectacle. They're not too extreme, but they hit with enough impact and wreckage to make you excited to see the metal crumple up and fly across the road. There's just something special about it, especially when you cause a wreckage worth having a huge pileup of both civilian cars as well as your opponents, who have no choice but to smash right into the scene of the crime. Burnout is a game that absolutely prides itself on its crash physics, and it's easy to see why. They hold up incredibly well, and they knew this, of course, including a crash replay button where you can watch and save all of your best wreckages after the race. Though, of course, the point of the game is not to crash. You're supposed to actively avoid doing so if you can help yourself and try to win races. The handling is superb. Cars feel weighty yet very easy to control. Drifting is viable yet very easy to get out of hand, so it takes some time to finesse. Every car feels different, some being more heavy and some being easier to suddenly slide sideways into a drift. You just have to find the right one to match your style and speed your way through the cramped roads, avoiding traffic, which once again is very impressive. The roads are packed with traffic you have to avoid, and it's a huge challenge to do so. In fact, sometimes it can actually get to a point of being outright unfair. Often, I found myself in situations where there was no way I could get out of T-boning a car or a bus, almost as if they were scripted to get directly in your way, and this is a huge issue, given that the AI rubber bands more than any game I've ever played. No matter your skill, no matter how incredible you drive and how perfectly you do, if you crash even once or twice near the end of the race, you can kiss your victory goodbye, as they will immediately catch up, and you have to rely on them crashing or you being able to boost past them somehow. Luckily, the AI are almost as incompetent as you and find themselves either constantly crashing into your wreckage or causing themselves to crash all the time. So it's not too horrible, and I didn't find myself losing too much due to the horrendous rubber banding. Though it definitely showed how unfair this game can get, and there's nothing less fun than losing to something that wasn't quite your fault. Sure, you should be punished for crashing, but not to such an extent where 1 or 2 crashes near the end of the race can cost you an entire victory after flawlessly driving the rest of the race, especially when some crashes are outright impossible to avoid without having boost saved. Speaking of boost, it works in a rather unique way. Burnout encourages reckless driving. The best way to earn more boost and therefore more speed is stuff such as near misses, driving into oncoming traffic, and drifting, etc. The more reckless you drive, the faster your boost will charge. A risk versus reward situation. You cannot use this boost until the bar is completely filled, allowing you a burst of speed for a short while. If you hold it down for the full duration, half of your bar will be instantly refilled should you not crash. Or if you drive dangerously enough, it will be fully refilled and you can continue boosting. Though, should you let go, you can still continue boosting again, but your meter will not refill at all once finished. This is a pretty neat idea to encourage you to push yourself and risk the adrenaline-fueled danger of crashing in exchange for an advantage in racing. Though, once again, the AI rubber bands so much, and all this does is perhaps allow you enough time to recover should you crash, or get to a checkpoint in time if your time is running low, which is very rare unless you crash a lot. The soundtrack is completely original. There are 10 tracks in total and all completely fit very well into the game. My favourite being Dead Ahead, or Exodus as it is also known. They convey the intensity very well and create a very nice, fast-paced mix of classical and modern electronic, making a really nice ambience for the action on screen, but not getting too much in the way. Unfortunately, one of the downsides of this game is the lack of vehicles. There are only 9 in total, 4 of which you have to unlock. 2 of these vehicles are a tow truck and a bus. Whilst it is hilarious to race against and as a bus, it is completely not viable as an actual vehicle in a race, considering it controls like crap and you'll constantly crash more than likely. It also is nowhere near as fast as the other cars, often not even being able to make it between checkpoints, especially of all the unavoidable crashes. What cars you do get to use though are fun and enjoyable. I just wish there was more choice. To unlock said car, you unlock face-offs in the championship mode. You face off one-on-one against said car, beat it, then unlock it for use. They're all pretty easy to beat, I didn't lose any, and I enjoy this method though. My personal favourite being the Saloon GT. There are 16 tracks in total, half of which being just reversed versions of other tracks at night or in the rain. Then 4 of them are marathon tracks at the other ones combined. These are fun at first, but they are incredibly long. The USA Marathon alone takes over 15 minutes to complete the whole race. So if you fail at this the first time, you're looking at over half an hour just trying to complete a single race that you not only have to come first on to complete, but could also do completely flawlessly, crash once at the end, which might not even be your fault, then lose the race due to the extreme rubber banding. It's a neat concept, but it's tiring. This is definitely a flawed game, and there are several unfair elements that can really dampen the experience, though overall, I did feel myself constantly compelled to keep going and had a riot of a time playing through it. The controls are tight and responsive, the races were fun and very tense, as well as the crashes just feeling absolutely satisfying, especially in those moments where you can push an opponent into an oncoming car and just hear the smashing of metal behind you. The first Burnout can be highly frustrating and unfair, though it is a very well crafted and amazingly well held up game. It's absolutely worth the play and has earned its place as the best Burnout game I've played so far, though perhaps its sequel will do an even better job.